Steve Mariucci, my compadre from NFL Game Day Morning here on the Mondays with Mooch post wildcard segment. How are you, Mooch?
I'm doing good. It's raining like crazy up here. How about down there in L.A.?
It's spitting a little bit down here right now. Maybe
we need the spit, don't we? All these fires and everything.
I know.
Man,
it is
it's
good.
coming down pretty good up here.
Or it could be the tears of Chiefs Nation. What is again, Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator of Andy Reid, just named moments ago, reportedly, the next coach of the Chicago Bears. I don't know if you heard that, Steve.
Yeah, I just saw that on
okay.
Social media.
So the question is, what is Andy Reid thinking this morning, your buddy?
Well, he's thinking that they're going to be a different team again next year. I mean, you always do. Next year's team is always much different. You know, there's 30 or 40% changeover in personnel, player personnel, and oftentimes if you're successful, you lose coaches. Gosh, he's been losing coaches. Doug Peterson is with the Eagles, and he's got quite a coaching tree. This was a quick hire. I don't know Matt Nagy personally. I take pride in knowing most of the coaches, but I don't know this guy. But evidently they want the Andy Reid way of life over there, the way he practices, the way his offensive scheme, the whole thing, and develop this young quarterback, Jaberski. And so on we go.
Well, I mean, that's for the Bears, but, I mean, what do you think your Andy Reid, walk me through, how he views something like this where they had it, they should have won it. Yeah. I know they lost their tight end who got hurt, but how does Kareem Hunt wind up with just 11 carries?
Yeah,
Steve?
They didn't have any plays in the second half. The Titans had 16 first downs and the Chiefs had 3. They couldn't put drives together, and it was just an awful second half for them, and nobody got the ball. And so when you miss a field goal and you mentioned Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, a defensive lineman, gets out and all of a sudden you're just not the same, and it snowballs away from you. I mean, it's shell shock, I'm sure. They had it. They're the better team, but they don't advance. It's a shame.
Steve Mariucci joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. What were the Falcons able to do that few teams were able to do against the Rams this year? Steve.
The Falcons are a very good team, and we saw that last year, and we knew how good they were on offense with the match roll and all the weapons they have, and they were up and down this year like most teams are, and they moved the ball against those Rams. Remember, we talked about Ben Garland, the guard replacing Andy Levitre, the utility man who plays offense and defense. He played pretty well against Aaron Donald, and Julio Jones made some plays, and they slipped around on that turf down there and made enough plays. But the Falcons' defense is better. It needed to be better. They found that out last year. They were so young. They were playing with about 5 guys starting that were first or second-year players, and they're growing up. And they got Trufant back. And so that Falcons team is better than it was a year ago. It's more mature, and it's more ready to do this. And they were more experienced. They were a little bit better apt to win a playoff game than the Rams. The Rams are going to be super. Man, I can't wait to watch them next year in their second year together. But the Falcons are for real, Rich. They are.
And it sure looks like the Saints are as well. Just when you thought that the reason why they're succeeding is because Breeze is able to rely on the 2 running backs, and then it was Breeze who damn near threw for 400 yards to get him through to the next round.
Yep.
Which team do you think has a better shot of winning on divisional weekend, the Saints or the Falcons?
Hang on. That's Gail calling. And I want to shut her off. Boy, she's going to be mad. And so
I'm honored that the Rich Eisen Show just sent your wife to voicemail, Steve. It's okay, though.
This is good stuff because, we saw the Saints and the Vikings play in the first week.
Yep.
And that was a different game because Sam Bradford was the quarterback. He threw for 346 yards. Cook was the running back. He's no longer with them. He's on IR. So this is a different Vikings team with Case Keenum and McKinnon and Murray at tailback. But I think the Saints certainly have a good chance of going in there and playing. That's the thing about being balanced. We say the Saints are balanced, and they don't just rely on Drew Brees throwing for 5,000 yards. They have these 2 running backs for 15,000 yards each, scrimmage yards, and they got held to 22 and 23 yards rushing. Well, pick your poison, because then if you load up the box and try to stop those guys, you know, Drew Brees will slice you up. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the only way that the Carolina Panthers had a chance to win this thing if Cam played one of his great games. He did. He was terrific. And it came down to the last series. Man, did Irv get his prediction right, his bold prediction?
I don't recall.
He had 349 yards passing. And it came down. Wow, what a game that was!
It really was. That one was really a good one. I mean, I've hardly even touched on Jacksonville and Buffalo because it really was just a difficult watch.
It really was.
But that said, that Jacksonville defense is no freaking joke. What do you think about their opportunity to make it a twofer in Pittsburgh coming up this weekend, Steve?
You know, I don't think they're going to win that game, but you're right. They have a terrific defense. Did you see Dion's interview? When you ball, you get the call.
Sure.
He had Jalen Ramsey from Florida State.
Yeah, and they had A.J. Boye on, and they both
Michael
said
Thomas showed up.
And they both started arguing over who's going to get Antonio Brown.
I'm sorry, huh?
They both started arguing over who gets Antonio Brown.
Yeah, these guys have an edge to them. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're good, but you know, you go back and watch that game with Pittsburgh, the game that Ben was thinking about retiring after the 5 interceptions. That was his worst game ever, and the Steelers were winning that game 9-7 in the third quarter. Not that that's anything to brag about, but then it was pick. It was, you know, and a couple of pick sixes, and it was such a freaky game. It was just a different game, and you know, I think Antonio Brown's going to be very healthy and fresh, and they have confidence, and Lev Bell, there's just so many weapons, and Pittsburgh's got a heck of a defense too. This would be a good game, but I would consider the Jags winning this a big upset. I really would, because Pittsburgh, in my mind, should be the better all-around team, especially in special teams and offense.
So basically, you think we're going to get the AFC Championship game we all expected?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
And
now
you never know, but I do. I think Pittsburgh will win, and I think the Patriots will win. Yeah.
So then, what about the NFC Championship game? Is it possible that the Saints go back home to take on another division opponent for a third time? Is that entirely possible, or do you like Minnesota to shock them and then? I mean, that one's wide open, but the NFC's been more wide open conference all year long.
It is, and you know, the Falcons go to play the Eagles. And, you know, they didn't play this year, but they played last year. And they played when the Falcons were really at their best on offense, okay? You know, Matt Ryan was unstoppable, and their offense was breaking records. And the Eagles stopped them. The Eagles played a great defensive game against the Falcons last year. And Carson Wentz was just a baby. He didn't do much in that game, but they won. Jim Schwartz's defense stopped the run game. They held him only 48 yards rushing, and that doesn't happen very often. So the Eagles' defense seems to have a way, a know-how to slow down this Falcons offense. It's going to be fun to watch.
So,
that one's anybody's bet, but the Eagles are probably pretty confident that they can win this.
So give it to me. What's your NFC Championship game prediction?
You want me to make a prediction already? Huh?
Yes, it's Monday, and I'm not going to speak to you for the rest of the week on the show, Steve.
I got to change my mind, though, right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, let me just tell you this.
Oh,
this is of all the football weekends that we have, college, pro, even high school. I love high school football. This is my favorite weekend of the season. Not even close. Divisional round weekend, because it's the Elite Eight, and it's all the 1 and 2 seeds that got the byes are playing at home against the teams that won a hard-fought game last week, and it's just always great football.
You're right, Steve. It is awesome. It's terrific, and I'm going to send you overnight, if not over the next 5 minutes, a pair of tweezers to take the splinters out of your behind and get off the fence and give me a prediction that I want to hold you to.
The Eagles and the Vikings winning in the NFC.
Eagles?
Wow, you go chalk 1-2. Ooh. You go 1-2, he goes chalk.
I'm going 1-2s all the way through. I'm going 1-2s. I like fresh teams.
Nick
fresh
Foles?
is good.
Nick Foles is going to bounce Atlanta.
No way.
Okay. I'm going to check your homework on Saturday, Steve.
Carson Wentz didn't do anything against these guys last year. Okay, so even if Nick Foles doesn't do anything, Carson Wentz, you know, they slowed him down. They had They ran the ball. They played great defense. Those kinds of things. They're at home.
Okay.
Cold. You got a dome team. I don't know how much of that's a factor. I always kid Kurt about you're a domer. And they got to go play in the cold. And, I can change my mind by tomorrow.
You can.
I got no splinters.
It's okay. And one last thing. Do you know who plays next Saturday during the wild card?
Okay, so we're going to bet an apple pan. What are we betting?
Sure.
And don't rub it in because Michigan State had one of those mulligans.
Stop. It's their number one.
Even know,
your boy Izzo's number one. He's rolling right now.
Yeah, number one, and they go to Ohio State and they get beat. But you know what? That's okay. They had 15 in a row. It's a little wake-up call. Now to get back on track.
Okay. Well, we've got lots to discuss at our Friday meeting. Let's put it that way. All right, Mooch, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right, stay dry down there.
You got it. That's Steve Mariucci here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.